Mashvisor and AirDNA both promise to help you dominate the Airbnb market and become a much more profitable real estate investor. But there's one game-changing difference that most reviews ignore, and it could be the reason your rental income never reaches its peak. I tested both platforms side by side, and what I found completely reshaped my strategy. So if you're deciding between the two of them, this video will save you from losing Airbnb revenue. Alright, let's get straight to the heart of this Mashvisor versus AirDNA battle. This isn't just about picking a tool, it's about picking the right strategy for your style of real estate investing. They're built for different goals, and choosing wrong means that you could be working with blinders on and extra limitations. First, let's look at AirDNA. This platform is a specialist. It's laser focused on short-term rental analytics for markets like Airbnb and Vrbo. That is its specific purpose. Think of AirDNA as your dedicated market researcher for vacation-style rentals. So if you already have a specific city or even a property in mind and you want to know everything about its short-term rental potential, such as occupancy rates, average daily rates, seasonal trends, AirDNA really dives deep into that. It's fantastic for understanding the performance of tourism-driven markets. I found it incredibly detailed for analyzing how a condo in Miami Beach would perform month by month, for example. But don't just take my word for it. When I looked into what other real users are saying, the sentiment from professionals seems pretty strong. One investor and Airbnb ambassador noted that AirDNA is an unmatched resource for professionals in the short-term rental industry, and he highly recommends it. So yeah, this and other reviews pretty much match my testing as well. For pure deep dive STR analytics, AirDNA has a respected reputation and caters directly to that need. All right, Mashvisor is next, and them, on the other hand, they're great for more beginners and growing investors and property managers who want accessible, all-in-one real estate investing tools. So that's the specific intent of this tool here. Its strength is in end-to-end investment discovery and analysis, and it helps users find the hottest markets nationwide, search multiple locations at once, analyze any property's profitability, and compare short-term versus long-term rental potential using real MLS and Airbnb data. And with features like dynamic pricing, neighborhood analytics, migration trends, and even a real estate data API, Mashvisor appeals to users who they want to find, they want to analyze, and even manage investment properties all in one place, even with little prior experience, because it guides you very well, the tools integrate well, it's all in one interface. So I think this core difference between these two programs was echoed perfectly by the users I found in forums and reviews as well. One user shared that Mashvisor is such a quick and powerful tool to use to get the information for important investing decisions. He highlighted that he primarily uses it for analyzing short-term rental markets nationwide, adding that the ability to access any market in the country without having to pay extra for each area is also really critical. Then there's this other user who said that Mashvisor gave him the tools to identify and decide on his first real estate investment with confidence. He added that he was able to quickly learn and evaluate thousands of properties at an accelerated rate without spending time on each one. You can narrow them down and then look for a specific one. So yeah, this kind of feedback I think hits the nail on the head. My experience was identical for the time that I used both of them and kind of compared them and gauged my own experience. So if your goal is to strictly optimize a property you already own for Airbnb, I think AirDNA's focus is a strength and meant for that kind of thing. But if you're an investor looking to find, evaluate, and compare investment opportunities across the US with multiple strategies in mind, which includes maximizing Airbnb revenue, sure, but other things as well, then I think Mashvisor's broader approach, it's not just different, it's fundamentally more powerful for building a more diversified portfolio and giving you additional options, right? Okay, now that we see the different philosophies here, let's dig into the actual tools that you're signing up for. I tested every major feature on both platforms, and this is where the Mashvisor versus AirDNA debate gets really practical and into the details. Okay, let's start with Mashvisor. If you're an investor who wants to go from a blank slate to a confident purchase, This platform feels like a cheat code. So the standout feature for me here was the property search tool. It's not just a simple filter, it is a fully customizable search engine that kind of lets you hunt for properties across the entire US based on your exact investment criteria. You can search by city, neighborhood, property type, budget, many options, and most crucially, by key metrics like cap rate or cash on cash return for either traditional or Airbnb strategies. So this means that you're not just finding houses, you're finding very specific investment opportunities that already match your financial goals. And then once you find a property, the property analysis page is where Mashvisor truly shines. Everything is integrated, it all leads one step to the next. Here you get the rental strategy overview that instantly shows you the side by side calculations for Airbnb versus traditional renting. You see projected monthly cash flow, occupancy rate, cap rate, and cash on cash return for both strategies in one clean view. This immediate comparison is something that AirDNA simply can't really provide, as it's focused solely on the short-term side and doesn't have these extra options. Then you have the financing calculator as well. With this tool, you can toggle between cash or mortgage, you can plug in your loan details, and you can see how your financing choice impacts your returns instantly. This is followed by the detailed expenses section, where you can tweak every cost from property taxes to Airbnb management fees to anything else to just create this hyper accurate financial model. Anything you want to do is up to you. Perhaps my favorite long-term planning tool here was the payback balance. This projects your cumulative profit or loss for up to 10 years, month by month or year by year. So seeing that long-term trajectory, knowing when you'll break even and how your equity builds over time, transforms these speculative guesses into this really solid investment plan where you can visualize it and see how it grows over time. And reviews and users that I've seen talk about this really confirms this hands-on power that it has. Here's one reviewer highlighting the user-friendly interface and comprehensive analysis tools that helped him identify promising opportunities. So yeah, that's the real-world result here. It turns data into clear, actionable insights. All right, now let's look at AirDNA's features. Its strength is depth within its niche. It does very well for what it does. The market insights and map view are excellent for top-down market analysis. You can visually explore any global market. You can zoom in on neighborhoods. You can get color-coded heat maps of key metrics like revenue or occupancy. If you manage existing listings, the performance dashboard is where it gets really useful. This lets you benchmark your Airbnb's revenue, ADR, and occupancy against your direct competitors and the broader market. For active hosts, this is very valuable feedback. A feature AirDNA has added is for sale properties. It sources listings within the app, aiming to be more of a one-stop shop now. It is adding some tools and adding some newer features, but I think in my testing, this did feel more like a more basic filter attached to their market data, which is their core feature, and it lacks the integrated financial modeling and the multi-strategy comparison that Mashvisor's search and analysis tools provide from the ground up, right? They also offer comp sets where you can build custom groups of up to 100 comparable listings to analyze altogether. This is a really powerful tool for a very specific deep dive competitive analysis on existing short-term rentals. Finally, it's time to cover the not so perfect parts of these platforms because, again, they have great tools, but they're not going to be perfect. And to make the best choice in the Mashvisor versus AirDNA decision, you're going to need to know the downsides. I've used both of them, and I've seen the feedback as well, so let's talk trade-offs. For Mashvisor, some users point out a learning curve with the platform that perhaps was a bit longer than they would have preferred. One reviewer mentioned that the data seems to be there, but the portal is difficult to navigate, and specific data in rural areas as well is not readily available. Also, it can be unclear how often the data is updated and how deep the data is in different areas. So I can understand this perspective. I happen to be in a city and I'm not looking in those areas and I haven't encountered many problems. And I have encountered a couple things where my first login to Mashvisor felt very feature rich, but packed, right? And I wasn't sure where to go first and what to do to integrate it into my workflow and understand everything. There's a lot there for sure. But after a few hours of use, after getting into it, sitting down, looking around, the logic of the workflow, search, analyze, compare, it all clicked, and navigating became second nature over time. It's definitely not minimalist. It's very powerful. And as for rural data, it is true that any platform's data density can be lower in less populated areas compared to major cities. There's not as much data there. It depends on what their sources are. But I did find their coverage to be consistently strong across hundreds of markets I tested. Data updates are continuous, but for the most critical metrics like pricing in general, it's always wise to do a final spot check with like any local sources you can find, a rule that applies to any analytics tool. Don't rely on a single platform or a single tool. You can confirm however you like to do research, but again, both of these platforms are solid. Neither is perfect. It depends on the way you'll use them. For AirDNA, the most common downside that I found, especially from some new users, is about accessibility. There were some other issues, but here's one frustrated user noting that for a free resource, he found it useless. No data provided without a subscription, so no chance of comparing their data with their competition. Okay, yeah, I mean, it's a valid point. AirDNA's free tier can be pretty limited. It's essentially a teaser. Different companies like to do different free versions of things in different ways. Unlike some AirDNA alternatives who might offer a free report or something, AirDNA locks its core insights behind its paid plans immediately. This makes it harder to try before you buy in a more meaningful way, right? You're investing in a subscription based a little bit more on faith in their reputation than on you having tried the tools yourself. Additionally, while using this Airbnb analysis tool, I sometimes did experience some slower load times when pulling very detailed historical market reports, perhaps compared to Mashvisor's more snappy property level analysis. It depends on like Wi-Fi sometimes and how much data it's pulling up at a time, but it could be the platform too. It could be like just a trade-off too. Like it's not doesn't really matter that much. It could be just incredible depth that you get for a bit of speed. Like these platforms do different things. When it comes to the pricing for AirDNA versus Mashvisor, again, they're both professional Airbnb analytics tools with pricing that reflects their value. They do different things, but they're both, I think, well priced. Broadly, AirDNA positions itself as a premium data product for short-term rental professionals, and its pricing reflects that specialized focus. And Mashvisor, while also a premium tool, I think it provides a wider array of tools for the investment process at a comparable price point, right? So that gives you better value, more utility per dollar if your needs perhaps extend beyond pure market analysis and you would take advantage of the wider array of tools. If you'd like to check them out, make sure to click those links in the description of this video for their latest plans and any active promotional deals that they're offering. I'll keep those links updated. So, after a couple months of testing, where does the Mashvisor versus AirDNA battle leave us? What do I think? What do we recommend? Which of these platforms is the best Airbnb pricing tool? Well, my verdict is simple. If your goal is to stop losing Airbnb revenue as is, you need more than just data. You need a system to find the right property, run the numbers for every strategy, and make a confident investment decision, right? And for that, I think that Mashvisor still is the clear, unmatched choice. It doesn't just show you the revenue or give you the numbers within a specific array of tools. It shows you the path to it. It gives you a broader range of options. If you want to get started with either of these, make sure to check the links in the description below for the best pricing tools for Airbnb. Just check out any of the current offerings. Leave a comment down below to what you think, and we'll see you in the next video.